So there was some reporting the other day that Charlie Kirk wanted to wage a campaign against Martin Luther King Jr. on Martin Luther King Day. Now, I don't know. I wasn't really following Charlie Kirk on that day. Did he do it? I'm kind of unsure. Maybe he said a thing or two that was like trying to besmirch his legacy. I don't know. You guys tell me in the comment section. But everybody looked at that and was like, holy shit, that's mega racist. Like this guy, Martin Luther King, who's like the quintessential American hero. And he's trying to get back in the trenches and have the debate again and try to take on MLK's legacy. I mean, it just strikes me as preposterous, but also racist as fuck. Well, guess what? He somehow outdid himself. So, the big boogeyman on the right these days is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm not kidding when I say they act like it is the biggest problem this country is facing, right? They talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion like it's corruption and money in politics. Like the actual core of the problem in this country is corruption and money in politics. All of our politicians are bought by billionaires and big business, and they do their bidding, and they put their middle finger up to the American people. That's the real heart of the problem on virtually every issue in this country. To them, to the right, it's DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion is, oh my God, the death of the country and all this stuff. Well, anyway, there's been a number of stories recently, I'm sure you've seen them, of Boeing 737 planes basically being totally broken and pathetic and terrible and unregulated and all these problems. Bolts missing from a wing of the plane, a door flying off while they're, however many thousands of feet in the air. Just crazy stuff, crazy. And these things were just greenlit to get back out there. Remember, this was the plane that plummeted out of the air a number of times and people died as a result of it because they rushed this thing for approval, right? Well, now they're finding all other problems with it. Loose bolts, doors popping off. Just crazy, crazy shit. Well, these idiots, Charlie Kirk and his gaggle of morons here, they look at those same stories and they have an answer. So they're talking about the airline issue here, and listen to what Charlie Kirk says.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
You want to go thought crime? I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
So when he sees a black pilot, he thinks, oh, they probably don't know what they're doing. I wish the pilot was white. This is what he thinks. This is what he said out loud to however many people were watching his shitty little podcast here. I am not the first person to get out there and get on my moral grandstanding high horse and say, I henceforth declare that thou hast made a racist comment. I'm not the guy. But how can anybody in their right mind look at this and not come to that conclusion? Simply by virtue of the fact that a pilot is black, you think, boy, hope they're qualified. So you feel less safe with a black pilot. Are you under the impression that because of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they get to skip pilot school? Is that the impression you're under? Because it seems like that is the impression you're under. I literally don't know how to talk to somebody like this. Now, by the way, if you think it stopped here, wrong. So Candace Owens is also, a partner in crime. And here's what she said. She's in an attempt here to one-up and outdo Charlie Kirk on the let me say a ludicrous thing and get attention scale. Here's what she said.
What he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys, honestly.
Do they sincerely believe, hey, if you're a female or if you're a person of color, when you go to pilot school, they're like, you're good. You don't have to go through all the training. You don't have to do all the courses. You don't have to abide by all the regulations. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You're good. We need to fit the quota. So safety, meh, schmafety, piss off. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Imagine going through life thinking like they think. Imagine that. You're looking at a scenario where you have all of these airline failures, and this is your takeaway? Too many women, too many black people. I mean, that's got to be it, right? Too many women, too many black people. That's got to be it. Okay, look, I hate to break it to these guys, and they're not going to like this. But the real answer about the problem here is, ready? Say it with me. Corruption, money in politics, capitalism and profit motive. This is what's at the core of it. They rushed through the 737 being approved, and then it plunged out of the air and crashed multiple times because there was a messed up sensor. And guess what? There was an incestuous relationship between the approval process and the regulatory bodies and Boeing. How many times have we seen this? We've seen this a million times. The EPA gets stacked full of like former oil executives. Oh, what do you know? They're going to go pretty easy on the oil companies. Like, this is how it works. The military-industrial complex. Oh, would you look at that? The people who worked for Raytheon or Halliburton or Boeing, oh, now they're the Secretary of Defense. And all these people in top positions in the Pentagon. And what do you know? They're for more war. So this regulatory capture, this happens in the airline industry, where safety takes a backseat to profit. Safety takes a backseat to profit. Rush this thing out there. I don't know, it's good enough. We'll approve it. I'm sure you guys did an okay job. And you got all these people cycling back and forth between the government in some aviation position and the private sector working for Boeing or whatever other company. And then what do you have? At the end of the day, you see the decline in the quality and the standards. And you got bolts that are loose, and you got doors flying off the hinges, and you got a sensor that makes the plane crash, and that's the real core of the problem. Instead of looking at the real core of the problem and analyzing it like a serious person and actually going through the evidence and the details, what do? Bro, if I see a black pilot, I'm like, bro, they got to be terrible, right? How'd they get this job? It must have just, the way DEI works is they go, hey, Jamal, come fly the plane. Yeah, I know. You never done it before. Doesn't matter. Because of your skin color, you jumped the line. Did you know that? And women, too, according to Candace. Hey, Janine. Janine is kind of a funny name. Come fly the plane. You don't need to do the pilot training. You don't need to do the safety stuff. Don't worry about that. I mean, again, what am I supposed to do with these people? Charlie Kirk had to out-racist himself with his little MLK stunt, and Candace Owens had to out-sexist Charlie Kirk. And the conservatives are supposed to look at Candace now and go, oh, she's one of the good ones. She's a woman complaining about female pilots, therefore she's like keeping it real or whatever. Or you all live in a sad, stupid world with it, looking at it through your biased ass lens where you want to blame everything on minorities and blame everything on women. I got bad news for you, man. That is not the problem here. And any reasonable person can conclude that, but I guess if you're a right-wing media figure, you got to keep hitting those same notes over and over to get the seals clapping. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.